Netflix's gritty crime thriller The Rip doesn't end with a clean victory or a heroic shootout. Instead, it leaves you with something far more unsettling: the realization that justice, loyalty, and corruption don't exist as clear opposites, but as parts of the same gray world. Directed by Joe Carnahan and led by longtime collaborators Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, the film slowly builds toward an ending that doesn't just conclude the story, it reframes everything we thought we understood about the characters and their choices. To really understand the ending, you have to start with the meaning of the title itself. In law enforcement slang, a rip refers to skimming or stealing seized money, usually drug cash, during an operation. It's illegal, but it lives in a morally confusing space. Because if the money already belongs to criminals, does stealing it really make you a criminal too? That question sits quietly beneath the surface of the entire film, influencing every decision the characters make. As the story moves toward its climax, everything centers around a stash house believed to contain nearly $20 million in cartel money. On paper, it's supposed to be a routine bust, but beneath that surface, paranoia has already started to spread through the team. Trust is breaking down, small inconsistencies begin to feel like major warning signs, and the earlier murder of Captain Jackie Velez casts a long shadow over the operation. Lieutenant Dane Dumars senses that something is wrong. The anonymous tip that led them to the stash house doesn't feel right. Information is leaking from inside the system. Someone knows more than they should. And slowly, Dumars comes to a dangerous realization. The threat isn't outside the team, it's within it. Instead of confronting this directly, Dumars makes a risky move. He starts lying. He feeds different versions of the stash details to different members of the team. Different locations, different amounts, different plans. It's not confusion, it's strategy. A controlled test designed to expose who can't be trusted. Whoever reacts to the correct version of the story reveals themselves. At the same time, suspicion begins to fall on Detective J.D. Byrne. He's distant, quiet, and emotionally closed off. He disappears during key moments, and his behavior feels just off enough to make him seem guilty. The film carefully pushes the audience toward believing he might be the one behind everything. But that suspicion is a misdirection. Byrne isn't corrupt, he's cautious. He understands something that most of the others don't. The corruption they're dealing with isn't limited to a few bad cops. It runs deeper than internal affairs, deeper than departmental oversight. It's embedded in the system itself. That's why, in a quiet but critical decision, Byrne reaches outside the system. He contacts his brother in the FBI, bringing in someone who isn't tied to the same chain of command, someone who can't be easily controlled or silenced. As the operation unfolds, tension explodes into chaos, and in that chaos, the truth finally surfaces. The real traitors are DEA agent Matty Nix and Officer Morrow. They weren't just tempted by the money, they were actively planning to steal it. More than that, they were responsible for Captain Jackie Velez's death. She hadn't been killed by cartel violence, as everyone believed. She was murdered because she got too close to uncovering their operation. That revelation changes everything. The narrative shifts. The biggest threat was never the cartel, it was the people who were supposed to be fighting it. The final confrontation is fast, violent, and stripped of any dramatic heroism. There are no dramatic speeches or triumphant moments. When Nix realizes the trap has been set, he reacts the only way he knows, with violence. The shootout that follows is chaotic and brutal. Byrne ultimately kills him, but the moment doesn't feel like a win. It feels heavy, irreversible, like something has been lost rather than gained. Morrow tries to escape, convinced that the money has already been secured, but he's wrong. Dumars tracks him down and arrests him not with satisfaction or pride, but with visible exhaustion. By this point, there's no sense of victory left, only the weight of betrayal and the damage it's caused. Then comes one of the film's smartest twists. The money everyone was fighting over, the duffel bags loaded during the operation, isn't real. They're filled with decoys, phone books, placeholders. The actual money had already been secured earlier and properly documented. Dumars never intended to steal it. His entire plan was designed to protect the money while exposing the people willing to take it. This detail is crucial because it answers the film's central question. The difference between thinking about corruption and acting on it is what defines the characters. Many of them were tempted, only a few crossed the line. Amid all of this, Desi, the informant caught between criminals and law enforcement, survives. Her role, though quieter, is significant. She ensures that the real money is processed legally and becomes a key part of exposing the truth. In return, she's given protection and compensation, not as a reward, but as acknowledgement of the risk she was forced to take. Her survival highlights a subtle truth. The people with the least power are often the ones who suffer the most in systems built on corruption. The film's final scene shifts away from violence entirely. Dumars and Burns stand together on a quiet beach at sunrise, honoring Captain Jackie Velez. There are no speeches, no emotional monologues, just silence. And that silence says everything. Because despite everything they've done, they haven't fixed the system. They've only exposed a part of it. The corruption still exists, the structure that allowed it to happen is still standing, and that reality lingers. The question Dumars raised earlier, are we the good guys, remains unanswered, and that's intentional. The film refuses to give the audience comfort. It doesn't offer a clear moral resolution. At its core, the rip isn't really about stolen money. It's about erosion, the slow, almost invisible way that compromise eats away at integrity. Dumars lies to catch liars. Byrne breaks protocol to make sure justice actually happens. Jackie dies because she trusted the system too much. Every character is forced to bend something they believed in. The villains in this story don't wear masks, they wear badges, and that's what makes it unsettling. Because in this world, doing the right thing isn't clean. It comes with consequences. It breaks trust, it damages relationships, it leaves scars that don't go away. What stays with you after the film ends isn't the action or the money, it's the choice. That moment where corruption feels justified, where taking the money seems harmless, where no one would ever know. And in that moment, Dumars does something rare. He refuses. He understands that the first compromise is never the last, that once you cross that line, it becomes easier every time after. By choosing exposure over profit, he sacrifices peace for principle. He knows the consequences will follow him: fractured trust, damaged careers, and the permanent knowledge that betrayal came from within. But he also knows the alternative is worse, becoming part of the same corruption that destroyed everything. In the end, the rip doesn't give you a satisfying conclusion. It gives you something quieter and heavier. It suggests that real integrity isn't loud, it isn't rewarded, it's lonely, costly, and often invisible. Dumars and Byrne don't save the system, they don't fix everything, but they make one crucial choice. They refuse to become what they're hunting. And in a world built on compromises, that refusal becomes the film's most powerful statement. Because sometimes survival isn't about winning, it's about holding the line when everything around you is telling you to cross it.